There are many topics that I would like to discuss with you, but this one is of particular importance because I find that it is not discussed enough, but it's a very significant topic. According to the official statistics of the Ministry of Education and Science, in our schools, out of 38,000 teachers, 32,000 are women. So very few people would be surprised about this. Israel has the same problem, Pakistan, Brazil and Russia and Italy and Slovakia and others have the same problem. But international research shows that this leads to problems in economic development, urbanization, the role of women in society and child rearing. In the context of teaching, it is common knowledge that schools in Armenia are a feminine community. I insist that even though the feminization of teaching is not surprising at all, the devil is in the details. It's important to understand how the personal features and professional and social capabilities of the teachers, which exist in a family-centered masculine social construct, obstruct the activities of schools as professional structures and how they affect the quality of teaching. I claim that schools in Armenia do not have educational problems, they have family problems, metaphorically speaking, because from the point of view of reform, it would be an achievement if we could shift the problems from family to professional fields. What I mean is that teachers and all of us understands that teachers are women, and it's not a surprise that they're not professional. We view this as something quite understandable. We just do not discuss it from the point of view of the problem. We don't put it in the center of policies. Back in 2005, Cornell was discussing the notion of feminine masculinity and saying that as a result of feminine masculinity, school becomes an implementer of the society's gender projects. What did Cornell mean? Cornell meant that as a result of our own gender stereotypes intruding into the school, we build them not as a professional community, but we build the school as a unit that serves these stereotypes. Hence, teaching, which requires major personal investment, is not seen in the norm as a profession. The research I present to you is methodologically based on oral stories.
Եվ ես կես տարվա ընթացքում տարբեր
In half a year, I worked with 8 teachers, spoke with them about their professional and family issues, tried to understand the links, the bonds. I browsed their photo albums with them and eventually conducted focus groups with their students. The findings are analyzed in subtopics. The first subtopic is the process of becoming a teacher. The second, the teaching experience. The third, the gender stereotypes subtopic. The fourth, a subtopic of being ready for change. The fifth, the link between maternity and specialization. And finally, I will speak about the perceptions of the students. There are numerous examples, but I'll focus on how the teachers are trained in the country, according to teachers who have this experience. But according to the experience of those with whom I spent a lot of time, there was only one teacher who had wanted to become a teacher and had become a teacher. In all the other cases, One teacher became a teacher by random accident. She wanted to become a geographist, a traveler, an explorer, but she got married and she had to look after the children, so she became a teacher. There's a lot of coincidence in their stories. One of them, the mother died, and had to look after the mother. Didn't want to study elsewhere, so chose pedagogic university, so never ended up becoming the doctor she wanted to be. She became a teacher. Turning to STEM, you have to look for space where women can choose the STEM path, but don't choose the STEM path, because comes a time in their life where they decide to go to schools. Here's a quote from a teacher's statement, an interview where I spoke about the choice of profession. She says, "I now don't remember what I want to become. It seems like I'm very old. I thought as a kid perhaps to become a dancer, actor, doctor, but my life passed on with some inertia. I do not even recall what I wanted to become," end of quote. In the schools and among the teachers, there's this belief that every woman must teach or be a teacher somewhere. This directly contradicts the professionalizing of the teaching community. I have a substantive proposal here. The space for professional orientation is diverse. By introducing professional orientation only in high school, we are making a mistake. For the professional training of women as educators, we need to find that space where they make that decision to enter the schools and not to choose a different path that they might have dreamt of. So metaphorically speaking, society is losing good teachers and losing professionals elsewhere. Had these people not become teachers, they would have become good professionals elsewhere. As to the teaching practices, if the question is that women, as women, may not be good professionals because they have to look after their families, the teacher's job becomes similar to maternity. So they say the teaching of the subject is secondary. As long as you raise good people, as long as you instill good values, we teach our students like mothers, even if there's something that day we don't get across. As long as we get the values across, what are the values that get across? Some people said this: the boys have got to be always smarter than the girls. I feel comfortable teaching because had I become a professional elsewhere, it would be harder. I would have to allocate more time, which I don't. I just do this work. This brings us back to the absence of the method. A recent article I published in the European Educational Research Journal very well explained our transition from the concept of pedagogy to the so-called concept of quality, and we altogether forgot the method. Setting aside the ideological problems of Soviet education, back then we did focus on the method of education. We no longer do that. And if we don't focus on the method, what education reform can there be? According to the students, the teachers are very kind, very tolerant. If you don't do something well, it's okay. Next time you'll do it better. They say you need to choose what you study. You can't study everything. You study selectively, and you choose and pick what you learn. They say no teacher is happy about being a teacher. No teacher is content with the role, and we have to appreciate that they're doing this in-grade job. And finally, they want well-renovated schools where they would all have their personal shelves or personal drawers. The main messages out of this research are the importance of professional orientation, not only in high school, but before. Policies should focus on professional orientation. Secondly, the problems of the method. Around the world, observations exist. So to ascertain that a lesson is being taught without observing class, without observing teachers' daily business, we can have no reform. Because when you observe class, you realize that the problems are about teacher training. And final, third problem is one of ethics. In this research, I see two new pieces of research emerging. One would be a study on the children and grandchildren of teachers. When they take their children and grandchildren to school, the teachers are still performing a family function, albeit in the school. They create a profound problem between their maternal or grandmaternal role and their teaching role, and they create conflicts between teachers and students, where some of the children of teachers study in their mothers' or grandmothers' classes. We all seem to know about this problem, but there's no ethical mechanism of controlling this. And day in, day out, this is an important problem. The next group that we need to study involves the female principals of the schools. In this feminine community, when the principals, who are women, get some power leverage within this cultural domain, the value system undergoes a profound metamorphosis, and we see the consequences in our reality, and they are seen and analyzed from a different point of view. We look for problems in corruption, in the mistakes in reforms. But my whole point in this presentation was to say that the problem in schools, that schools are feminine in our masculine environment. That's the problem. We have set it aside and we're trying to talk about other problems of reforms. Although we have serious family and personal problems in the biographies of the teachers. Thank you.